Okay. Okay, this works. Oh, shit.
I don't see my picture up. Can you see me?
I can't. I can't.
Cannot.
No, I cannot.
Let's see. Where's it? Oh, start video. Here we go. Sorry about that.
There you are. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I got a bunch of questions for you.
Oh, that's fine. What'd you get up to today? And what's it like out there in Maryland?
Well, we got some thunderstorms rolling through now. The hurricane's working its way through today.
Oh,
I mean, it's
yeah.
not a hurricane anymore, but we're supposed to get some nasty thunderstorms for the next 24 hours.
Do you worry?
Uh, no, it's not supposed to be real bad. They're not forecasting.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we had like 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and it knocked down a lot of trees, and that was a mess. 70 mile an hour winds, but
Okay.
shouldn't be too bad. I think we're just going to get a lot of rain.
Yeah. So, how old are you?
I'm 60.
Are you really? Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So
60.
you've got a little production company, or you do your own little? What do you do? You got? I saw something, right?
Yeah. Well, here's. I was unemployed. I got a job about 4 years ago, but before that, I was unemployed for a couple of years. And during this couple of years, I thought, maybe this is a good time for a career change. And I've always been interested in television and movie production. So I contacted my local public access channel, and I volunteered there for a couple years. I'm actually on the board of directors now. But so I started making short films. I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
So sort of like SMPIA, like in terms of that organization would be what I experienced at SMPIA. You'd experience at that
No,
place.
well, do you know what public access TV is?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on cable for basically
Oh,
can
gotcha.
have their own show. Like Saturday Night Live used to make fun of them. Anybody
Okay.
can come in, anybody in the county can come in and make their own TV show.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I would produce some shows for that. That's where I learned to edit. I learned how to use an editor and all.
Oh,
So, and then after a couple years of that, I decided, just volunteering once a week, I decided to make a couple of my own shorts. I made a few documentaries, and then I made a feature-length documentary about the Ocean City Beach Patrol, which is the lifeguards on the beach down here. They're very, they save 200 lives a year. They're very, very
is
important.
that
And uh, I submitted it to a bunch of small film festivals and won 8 or 9 awards with that. So now I want to get more into narrative films, and so I'm working on a couple scripts. I did my first narrative film in a week last year for a local contest. Uh, but
okay? Okay.
so
Um,
I'm starting to get into that.
have
So
you
I'm
had
learning how to do it right. So I think maybe I could work on a set here sometime soon and learn how to do things right.
have you had a lot? Have you had a life of? Have you had a variety of careers in your life?
Yeah, I was a software engineer. I designed fiber optic telecommunication systems and process control systems for power plants and steel mills for about 20 years. And then I was a network engineer for about 6 years. In the last 5 years, I've been a radio technician for the county police and fire radio system. I maintain their they have 8 tower sites that are interlinked with microwave, and I maintain all that for them.
Would you say, compared to the average person, the average Joe on the street, that you're kind of a little bit smarter than most? To do that kind of thing? I would think so.
I like to think so.
Hey, Maya,
Hello.
My
Hi.
you got to show us that photo behind you. The
It's from
painting.
the It's from Princess Mononoke. I don't know if you guys know that movie. It's from
No.
Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki. He did Spirited Away, Castle in the Sky, Japanese animator. So this is from Princess Mononoke. So it's a big tree or forest spirit, and then these are kodamas, which are just tree spirits on his antlers.
Oh my God, Ruby would love that. What's the movie called, and could a 9-year-old watch it?
It's called Princess Mononoke. It depends on the 9-year-old. I would maybe screen it first and then
Yeah.
decide, because it does have some intense moments, but if she isn't like super bothered by it, she might love it. So
Is it scary?
there's some scary moments. I mean, I saw it when I was 4, which was a little too young, like the first time, but like I love it now. And I think I started watching it again when I was like 9, 10-ish. So yeah.
Is it
I
a
love
film?
all of
When was it made? Like the 80s,
I
90s?
don't know the year. I think it was a while ago. I think his movies are all at least like a decade or a couple decades old.
I need to-
Spirited Away is definitely his most famous film in America.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all
Spirited.
beautiful.
I have to get a pen and a piece of paper. Hold on a second. I got to write that down.
Okay. Yeah, definitely recommend.
Where do I put that?
You have a bunch of questions, Maya?
Yeah, I have a few. What about you?
Yeah, I got 9.
Oh my gosh, I have 3 so far.
All right.
Let's see, Princess Mononoke. When did that?
It was called, what was that movie called again, Maya? The
Princess. So
Yep.
just Princess, and then Mononoke is spelled Mononoke.
Perfect.
And it
Okay.
came out
I
in
just
1987.
Okay. I just discovered a movie. I was driving my car and I was like, there's this phrase, "You're killing me, Smalls." I'm like, what is that? Is that a derogatory thing? Where'd that come from as a movie? And then I Googled it, and this movie called Sandlot came up. And it's kind of like one of those 70s, 80s shows about like a group of
Beach bums.
kids. Kind of like what'd you say, Brett?
Beach bums.
No, kind of like Lord of the Flies, but just a gang of kids in town and doing stuff, and they're young. And anyways, killing me,
Oh.
Smalls. Have you ever heard that? Man, you're killing me, Smalls. No?
That sounds so familiar, but I've never heard of Sandlots or.
Oh, Sandlot. So Google it's not on Netflix, but Google Sandlot, the film. I think it's one of those classic films that I've missed over because I'm not a film geek, but or by any means, but that's one of those films that kind of like Princess's Bride or something that apparently everybody knows about and I don't. Anyways, let's start with the question. Oh, hey, Dee Dee, are you there? Well, I see her. But start hitting me with your questions. Ladies first, right, Maya? You hit me with your question.
Okay. One question I have is it more common for production assistants to work on the full length of a show, or to only work on like certain days, like be called in and out? Because I don't know, maybe like the show I'm coming in to work on starting next week, I'm only being asked to work 6 days. And I don't know if the show had filmed mostly before COVID and they're finishing like 1 episode, or if they're just doing bigger scenes for 6 days that they need more help with. So I just wasn't sure if it was more common to like have it be more random or be like you're in it for the full production.
So has this film filmed in Portland, or is it coming to Portland and you're just being hired for that?
It's a show, and it filmed the first season last year here, and then it's currently filming its 2nd season, but I don't know how far into the season they have filmed.
You're in Portland, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the show?
The Birch.
The Birch.
It's on Facebook Watch.
It's on what?
Facebook Watch.
Okay. Oh, I've never heard of that. Facebook Watch. What is that? Wow.
I guess it's a streaming platform on Facebook. I didn't even know that you could put shows on that, but I guess you can.
Wow.
I know.
So I have sometime. Do you know what IMDb is? Do both of you know IMDb? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
So put James Eddy. This is for Maya because of Portland. Eddy. He and I work together on Judging Amy, and he's a props guy, and he works a lot in Portland. and I'd love for you to meet him because he's just a cool guy. Like, and anyways, but back to your question, it's a great. It's both, Maya. That PAs, like there's day playing PAs. And then there's staff PAs, and your staff PAs, you're going to have a key set PA to help run the set. You know, you need a gopher on set for everybody. And yes, they're under the AD that's on set in terms of hierarchy, but they do jobs for everybody kind of. Like, you know, if a makeup artist is like, hey, can you run grab the actor, blah, 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 you would do it. And then there's the base camp PA. And so those two are prime, like you usually have two key PAs on a show for the staff, run of the staff. And then especially the person on set, when the show starts getting big, like that, I showed you the call sheet for End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there were a couple of key PAs on that, but then there was 28 PAs listed, just that one line, and I was one of them, right? So you're going to get into the business as a day playing PA, and that's what they're hiring you for 6 days. You're just a day playing PA, right? Once you get on the show, like, but that's a great gig, Maya. That is a great gig because that's, I mean, you as much as you can. What's the word? Milk it as much as you can because. That'll get you the next episode. They'll be like, fuck, we got to bring her back. We got to bring her back. Right. And it goes from there because I was in, I got to admit. I was in us. Anyways, it's happened to me. I used this phrase and I used it today. I was talking to a teacher. I got into the business purely based on luck, which is what your 1 week is there. And it was my reputation that got me the job after that. And you know what? The Thin Red Line, huge movie, got me that gig, pure luck. And then I was on a plane and I called the second AD and she said, the second AD from the Ride with the Devil show called me. I mentioned your name. Of course she did. She talked a little bit about me. It was my reputation. So use this as a great opportunity. And you're not a kiss asser, I can tell, but you're going, look ahead, look at your bosses and see what they're doing. Always be observant, see what they're doing so that then you can step in as you see them going to do something, you can step in and do it for them. And they'll be like, oh shit, I don't have to ask her anymore. And I can't give you an example, but there's little tiny things where I would just be observing and I go, oh yeah. Okay, so so that's your question. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, it did. And I guess there's wait, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, remember what I said yesterday or the day before about the money thing, right? There's no pride involved when it comes to money and jobs. Hey, I'm looking for work. You got anything? Can I get a deal memo and what's the rate? They will think that you're a pro when you ask that kind of stuff. Oh, she's working.
Okay. Yeah, I texted the AD and asked him, and he just told me straight out, and it was fine. So.
Okay.
So as a follow-up to that question, would it be inappropriate for a PA to ask, like, where they were in the show and, like, if there was more they could do on it later? Because I think I heard that they have 4 weeks of filming left to go, and I'm only being called for 6 days. So should I not say anything, or could I ask? Like, if you need more help in these weeks, I could help you or something like that.
Prove yourself. Prove yourself in the first 4 days.
Okay.
End of the night of the fourth night, start asking around. Hey, what happens next week? And then Friday, start hitting your targets. Just, sit next to the first AD at lunchtime or close to them. And then as he's walking to clean his plates at the end of the row or whatever, hey, I'm looking for more work if you got any. And it's not inappropriate too to say, hey, this is one of my first gigs. I've heard people say, give them your business card. I think that's a little cheesy, but apparently people do it. I think really people by the time your 5th day will come, they'll have your phone number in their phone. And that's all people live off of now, right? So you really don't have to give them a business card, but that's what I would do.
Okay. Good advice. Thank you.
Brett, it's your turn, sir. And then we'll come back to Maya or Dee Dee.
Okay. I was looking through the, I forget all these terms, but I was looking through the document that had all the the magazine that had all the upcoming films that are being worked on.
Yep, the rag, yep.
Yeah, and a lot of them had a date. I assume that's like a start date when they start shooting, start production. And some of them said development instead of a date, and some of them said active development. What does that mean?
Active development means we don't have the money yet, but by putting out there that we're looking to do this show, people who read this rag, especially investors, are going to go, oh, let's look into this. So there's no point in even sending a resume. The ones that are in development but don't have a start date, I wouldn't bother with either. I would just look at the ones that have the start date and have a physical address. I would not send resumes to the production if there's not a production off, like, okay, so in that list it'll say the location that's shooting, like Atlanta, and the production office will have an Atlanta address. If all it's giving you are LA addresses for the studios in LA, I wouldn't even bother, right, sending your resume there, because those people are never coming here, never reaching out to these, like it's way up here, out there, in terms of who you're. So yeah, so I would hone it down to those that are, they've got the location, they've got the start date, and they've got a local address in that location.
Okay, great. And just an observation, looks like half the films are made in Montreal now.
Really?
Yeah, I went through.
Is that right?
About half of them are Montreal.
I wonder why that is.
There's a ton of stuff in Canada. Canada is where everything is right now. Ton of stuff. Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver.
How about, do you see any for, Dee Dee, you can keep your mic on. There's just the three of us. Do you see any in Winnipeg? Have you seen that name before?
There's one in Edmonton coming up in September. If there's one for Winnipeg, I can remember Winnipeg, but I don't think it's soon. I think it might be a development, but I think I remember seeing that. But there's as much going on in Toronto as there is Vancouver, and when you go through and look at it, I'm going to tell you right now, probably and in London, I'm going to say of everything listed, a good 70 to 75% is not in the US. It's Canada or England. And I think that's because y'all are ahead of where folks are here about, hey, we can figure out a way to work around this. And that's just my kind of guess at it. So, but he's right. Yeah, a ton of stuff is in Canada.
I'm so lucky to, in 1970, I was born in 1970. My dad got a job in 1971, either Chicago or Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Never heard of it before, up in Canada. And he said, Mom and I didn't want to raise 5 kids in downtown Chicago. Especially, Brett, you would remember this, right? Like, maybe, I don't know how, Dee Dee, you might remember, but 1968, Maya, there was a Democratic convention in Chicago, and I think the mayor was Republican. He didn't like it. Anyways, a bunch of people got beaten up. Oh. And it was and it was like the 60s, Chicago, come on, right? So fortunately, they moved up here, and I'm so happy because I have an American citizenship still. I have my passport and everything. I can go like this across until recently, I could go like this across the border and work in both countries. And that's what gave me a career, because I was a farm boy out in Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere. And I ended up on the biggest movie in Hollywood, over in Australia, purely on luck, right? I'd done my university. I was 27. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know. Let's go backpacking in Australia. And through some circumstances, I ended up in that town. And lo and behold, I saw that poster and boom, away it went, right? I don't know where it's going. With that. Sorry. So sorry, Brett, I answered your question. Dee Dee. Oh, we were talking about Canada and those rags, and all the work that's up here. Well, yeah. Well, Winnipeg, I tell you this, where I'm from, here in Regina, Saskatchewan, we had a tax credit of 35%, like most states do. And because that's kind of the threshold for making money and losing money or something. But then the government cut it here. And our film industry died in 2012. Everybody moved, all our technicians. And so even if they bring back the tax credit here, it's going to take a long time to build that up again. And we have four state-of-the-art sound stages in downtown Regina that have been empty since 2012, state-of-the-art. And all of our technicians are gone. But Winnipeg, that's why I was asking Dee Dee about Winnipeg, it's like a 6-hour drive from here in Manitoba. It has had, in the last 5 years, gone from 0 to $1 billion in making movies. $1 billion. Because everybody's like, because we have the tax credit that's very similar to all of your states, 35%, but we have a shitty dollar. Our dollars were 75 cents on a dollar. So your producer gets $1.25. So it's a $1.25 million show, not $1 million show. And Canadians work for less. So yeah, I can see why so many productions are up here.
A lot of our states are getting rid of the tax credit now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wasn't Georgia? I don't know if they got rid of it or they were talking about getting rid of it. And North Carolina. Yeah.
Well, Georgia won't get rid of theirs. Georgia won't. Now, if any of you ever want, I've told Dee Dee this, and she didn't listen to me. If any of you ever want to move to a state that get into the feature films, you got to move to Georgia. You don't have to move to Atlanta because it's such a shitty place to live, because in terms of the driving, like you're in traffic 6 hours a day. I have so many friends that move there, but the tax credit will not go away there because private investors, not the government, private investors have built studios there. And so if the tax credit goes away, somebody's going to get it, right? So and they are the capital movie making place in North America now. I know they're more than New York. I know they're more than LA. Like everybody's going there because they're
So in that whole list, there's only 2 in Georgia in that list.
What's that?
In that whole list, there's only 2 that are taking place in Georgia now. That whole list you gave us.
Well, the Tyler Perry's doing, he's got his thing going, and I think he's like done so many, and they're kind of taking a down thing, and he'll pick back up. So there's a lot. I understand, Kenny, what you're saying about there's a lot of work in Georgia, and I tried for 9 months, nothing. And to be quite honest, I got really discouraged about like the Facebook groups there, and people were just saying, don't come. There's not work for anybody. And I was finding out one of the reasons why I made the decision to go ahead and come to LA was at least the people that I could kind of glean from, they were bringing in a lot of folks from LA to do that work. Okay. The local crew might have been PAs and maybe, gaffers and grips, but the ADs and folks like that, and all of the, and somebody said, you can come to Atlanta, but if you really want to make it, you're going to have to go to LA or New York and start all over again. And I thought, why?
Everybody brings in their keys, and all the keys will bring in their best boy, best girl. But then the best boy, best girl hires a local to hire all the locals. So you'll hear that from people in Atlanta because it makes sense. You work with who you know, right? It doesn't surprise me that you might have felt that with Atlanta. I understand it's a small community, and smaller film communities, and Maya, you'll experience this in Portland, certainly. Smaller professional film communities, not, independent filmmakers, students and all that. But you've got a professional film community, Maya, in Portland. Like you really do. It's very well built up, et cetera, et cetera. But you'll find them much more cliquey because they only have 1 or 2 crews. Like you'll find that in Cleveland, you'll find that in Cincinnati, and yet like Cleveland and Cincinnati before this pandemic, they were starting to really, but everybody's like, oh, you won't find jobs, there's too many time. Well, of course they're going to say that. Of course they're going to say that because there isn't. There's only like, usually 1 or hopefully 2 shows going at a time. And if that's the case, well, yeah.
Well, going kind of sort of along those veins, my questions were more around in trying, believe me, I understand part of my approach to all this is I'm trying to cut about 20 years out of the progression.
Yeah.
But I guess how can I go about presenting it that's I don't mind a bit starting as a PA. I don't mind a bit getting up and, I mean, I worked on college game day. My call time was 3:30 on a Saturday morning, and it was 5, 6 in the evening every day before I got done. So I started out in 30-degree weather, ended up 80 degrees. So weather doesn't matter, time doesn't matter, effort doesn't matter. I don't mind cleaning the restrooms or everything else like that. But there's that expectation of, for the most part, PAs are young and green and really don't know what to do. And that's just not the case with me. I can't tell you literally every single person that I worked for, especially at ESPN, would look at me and say, you've done this before. And I got asked that question my very first job with ESPN. One of their folks from Bristol came down, and I said, no, this is my first time and everything, because I know how to work. I know how to observe and watch what's going on. I know how to take responsibility for things and try to look and see who needs help, what needs to be done, things like that. So, but how can I get that across? Right. And right now, nobody's talking to anybody because of the virus. So I really just have that, the written word, I guess. So how can I guess, overcome that normal objection about hiring a PA who doesn't have much experience?
You're talking about ageism, aren't you? Really?
I'm sorry, what?
You're talking about ageism, really, is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, but they don't know how old I am when I'm sending the letter and everything, because I put my education on my current resume. I don't put the years. And I don't even put the time frames on what I've worked on. I just have the list of what I've worked on. So, and if you looked at my resume right now, you would know I have worked for 40 years in business.
Right. Okay. So let me say this, and this apply. Maya and Brett, you'll feel for this too, and Adri, you're here too with us. I would say, Dee Dee, I always say so I'm in Portland, Oregon, let's say, and I'm making a movie, or there's a movie being made, and I'm Maya, and I say, okay, how do I meet the people that work locally and from out of town that are working on this movie? More so the people even that are from out of town, because they're the keys that are hiring. I would find out from your film commission, Maya and even Brett, what hotels do they often book crews into? Because hotels, the smart owner managers of hotels, they go to film commissions and say, hey, we'll give these guys a cut rate. And I remember I did that Ray Liotta show in Des Moines, Iowa, and the Chase Suite hotels we got for $50. Doug got them down to $50 a night per room. And this was like, when they were 150. Anyways, my point is, then you go hang out at those bars, at the hotel bar, and have a drink. And at night you'll see them come in, you'll talk to them, right? So that's what. So, but with you, Dee Dee, I wish I could. I have a friend. Her name is, you might IMDb her. Her name is Laura Petticord. What a sweet last name. Laura Petticord, Petticord, Petticord. Laura Petticord, and she is she has been a second AD her entire life. She is older than I am. I would say she's getting close to 60. And she worked Chicago Hope for 20 years, or how many years it went. She did she's done every TV series in LA. And I was so fortunate that she was the second show I did, Judging Amy, for a year or two. Anyway, she's on Grey's Anatomy. When Judging Amy quit, they offered her Grey's Anatomy. She's like, oh, fuck, what's this going to do? And she's been doing that for 12 years.
Forever.
Oh, my God. And like, sometimes she has 3 base camps that she's running. 3 base camps. Sure, she's got people in each of those base camps doing the gig, but she's coordinating because she does the main unit. But you have a coffee with her. You go down to she loves this. Oh, there's this Mexican restaurant that she goes. Anyways, all I'm saying to you is go to places like, how to say this? because I've had other people go to like Whole Foods, go to Trader Joe's, go to the Starbucks on the corner of. So there's this one Starbucks that comes down to Laurel Canyon, and it hits Sunset Boulevard or something like that. There's a Starbucks there on La Brea. I can't remember, but like every studio executive goes there to get their coffee in the morning, and the kid standing behind the counter got a job in the office on our show, which was a big show at the time, because he was great behind the counter. And the UPM who he was serving said, fuck, I'd like to have him as a PA in my office. And he started his career that way, his film career that way. So, so how do you approach somebody in Whole Foods, right? Well, that's a tough one. But, if you're good at starting up conversations that are just generic, hey, do you know anything about this? And then somehow segue into, I don't know how, but I'm saying to you, you've got to meet people, Dee Dee. You've got to meet people, and you've got to meet people that are in their comfort zone and not in the, it's hard to knock on doors because they know why you're knocking on doors, but you've got to, what I'm saying is you've got to create being in the right place at the right time. Okay, so wherever you're located in LA, start visiting even the coffee shops and the Jamba Juices around the studios, right? Because especially at certain times, right? Well, of course, with film, it's hard. And of course, okay, I'm talking about pre-pandemic. Things have changed now. I don't know what things are like, but if there's always shit going on at these studios, even now, I'm sure in pandemic. So any of those restaurants around those studios, find a friend and go hang out at them. And it's the same thing as Maya being in Portland, hitting the hotel that always houses That's what I would say, Dee Dee. That's if I was in your shoes. And I am like you. I did Thin Red Line, Ride with the Devil. I got hooked up on a show in North Dakota, and the guy said, sure, come to LA and you can live at our place. He was married. You live at our place and try your luck in the world. And oh fuck, I just lost my train of thought there. What was my point? Oh, I sat for months. I sat for 3 or 4 months, nothing. And then a friend called a friend and said he needs a job, and I went up to Vancouver and I was a director's assistant. I was a director's assistant for the guy whose son was the lead director on X-Files, which was huge at the time. But being in the right time, meeting the right people. That's all I'm saying to you. I don't know what I'm saying to you. I hope that helps. Next question.
My other question was, and this had more to do with the other night when we were talking about filling out the different forms and everything. Who keeps up with the official in and out times and meal times and all that, to record all of that? Whose responsibility is that?
That's the second assistant director. No, excuse me. It's a combination of the second assistant director creates the in times and documents that on a call sheet, and that's approved by the unit production manager. The unit production manager is hired by the producers to handle the money, to manage the money. So that person, of course, would want to approve those in times that I've created by talking to the crew, because every extra minute costs a lot of money. That's why we do.
Yeah.
So it's the second AD that creates those in times, and it's a third AD and all of the PAs that gather the out times as the crew's leaving at the end of the night. And that third AD or second AD, they're called, inputs them into that production report. And the production report then goes to the UPM, and the UPM signs off. And if he or she is not happy with the in and out times, comes back to us and says why. So to add to that is, when I create call times on my call sheet, I have to have a pretty damn good reason and know why, the actor's coming in at this time and why the grips are coming in half an hour early. I have to know exactly why. So yeah. And I often like this. I like this, Dee Dee. Sorry, you're getting me off on a tangent. But when I would go shopping your call sheet, shopping your preliminary call sheet, so I would create a week's worth of call sheets on Sunday. I spend my Sunday and spend 3 or 4 hours. And that's unusual. Most second ADs create their call sheet on the day. But to me, I'm more valuable, and it's a lot more fun being on set. So if I create all my call sheets on Sunday, based on the week's work that's been scheduled, then I free myself up to put out any fires on set. And that made me unforgettable because all of a sudden we need somebody, and oh, there I am to do it, right? But my point is, what was my point? It was about call times. It was about, is that I would go around, and I always like to present myself as, you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of ADs think that they have a lot of power because they're running the set. They're the power whores, really. And I think that's the worst assistant director you can ever have. I come up to people and say, hey, I've never been a grip. What's your in time tomorrow? When do you need your guys? And they'll tell me, and I'll say, why? I'm not challenging you. I just need to know because they're going to ask me. And once you get on that with them, then they're more than happy to say, well, Kenny, we got to put up blacks. We got to put up that and that. So yeah, put in a call. And I never challenge them. And there's some ADs that challenge them and think that we're in charge of, and it's nothing like that. Like I always feel the best ADs or assistant directors and PAs know that we don't have any power. We just sort of communicate the information. Off on a tangent there.
No, but that's good. That's good to know that it's, what little bit I knew about it, I envisioned it as you're the communication hub, but you're communicating and not dictating, but communicating.
Yes, and that's a good word, dictating. So many ADs, they're no one, like you just Google memes or whatever on ADs, and they're always yelling. And I get that it gets frustrating because you are the mouthpiece to 100 people, and hopefully you've got a good key second and a team that'll also communicate the information. But some people, I feel the yellers. My experience has been the first ADs that are yellers and screamers. Typically they're men, are just unprepared. Typically they're just unprepared, right? And when they're unprepared, they start blaming other people. But anyway, okay. Adri, do you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I didn't have any question. I was, thank you for the information. It was really, really nice to understand what's happening. All the questions I had in my head, you answered and more. So I wanted to thank you, and I want to follow up with you through the emails on the resumes and stuff, if that's okay.
Yes, and I would advise all of you too. Those rags that I talked about, I sent you one of them. They're like $400 to $600 US a month. Nobody can afford them. I can't afford them. But if you work in the business and you're making $5, $6, $7 grand a week, you can afford them. So I have friends that'll send me their copies now and then. So don't hesitate to bug me once a month for one of those. Right. Sure. And I'll forward it to you because they're invaluable. If you're in the business or trying to get in the business, they're invaluable.
Right. One way I went about is I signed up for IMBD Pro, which I have an open account with right now. And, getting that information of the email addresses and so on from numbers. I'm not very successful right now in trying to reach anybody. But I heard, you got to try several times and hopefully one of them, sending query letters and stuff like that.
Where do you live?
So I'm sorry?
Where do you live? What town? What city?
Here in the U.S., I live in Dayton, Ohio.
All right.
Yeah, I'm from South Africa, but I live in Dayton, Ohio. I'm here for the last 20 years or so. But yeah, that's still part of my home.
So what position are you?
Producer.
Okay.
So I'm a writer. I was an extra on Parker in Columbus when they did that whole scene with the Ohio State Fair, and it kind of just evolved from there, my writing, and now I'm producing because I just got frustrated with having closed doors. So I'm like, I'm going to take a stab at producing. I'm going to try to figure this out. And right now I'm yeah.
Do you know Carrie? Then you know yes. Carrie O'Reilly.
Yes,
okay.
I've been in communication with her about my documentary, and she's very helpful, but she's very busy also. So yeah, but yeah, I have we're in film dating together. We're under film dating.
So for all of you, there's this independent film community, and to be in the independent film community, you just turn around and you say, "Hey, I'm a producer. Hey, I'm a director. Hey, I'm without a lot of experience, people can do that and say that. And that's unfortunately the tarnish that's there. So, you know, I would go after somebody like Carrie O'Reilly and even Lisa Grigsby at the Dayton Film
Frisbee.
Office, and
Yeah.
and not go after them like I want to be a producer, but say to them, hey, I'd really like to be a producer's assistant, because you're going to get 4 years of incredible film school in like one show by being a producer's assistant, if that's the gig you want to, if you want to get into producing. But just to say yourself a producer to somebody who really is a producer like Carrie, and I only say that in the sense that she does big feature films, right?
Yes.
She doesn't do $5,000 movies. Yes, you're a producer that does $5,000, but so she knows. So I'm saying, you know, it just looks good to her if you humble and say, hey, I want to be your assistant. Is there any way, or you or anybody that you know, if I can be their assistant? Because I really,
I never thought of that. I was kind of, you know, I'm working on a show that's a TV series, and we're kind of plugged in somewhere in Hollywood right now. But I never really thought about reaching out to her to see if there's a set I could. Thank you for that. I never even thought of it. To come
and even ask Lisa too. Actually, approach Lisa first and say, do you think it would be wrong or awkward of me to approach Carrie, and if so, are there others like Carrie in the Ohio that I could approach and ask if I could be their assistant on a show? You don't want to be their assistant out of a show because you won't get paid. On a show, they'll pay you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, light bulb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, Brett, you had a question.
Yeah, I think Maya, did you have any more questions? I think she was up next.
Oh, I had a couple more, but you have a lot, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay. First, couple related questions. So if I'm interested in the AD chain of command, so you have here down on the bottom as the entry level position, a set PA and intern. So what job am I applying for? An AD PA or an AD set PA or set PA? What do I say I'm looking for? What job? What's the?
You know, you're in the same position as Dee Dee, right? You're older, right? And so you're going to run into the same kind of ageism for that. And the two of you, that ageism is not as apparent in the office. On set, they want these young kids because they can run 14 blocks down to the base camp and grab something and come back. And they're looking at you going, oh my God, we'll need a wheelchair by the time they get down there. But the office is much more mature. You have, and those are the people that you really want to get to know, because they're doing the hiring, right? Your unit production manager, your production office coordinator, being an assistant production office coordinator, stepping in, your first gig there would be as an office PA or as the secretary at the front desk that stops people, you know, is the guard.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in working in an office. I want to work on the set.
Well, but I'm saying, Brett, one gig in the office will net you the next gig on the set.
Okay.
Right. You know, and I'm just saying, because I've experienced, because of ageism, you're going to get in faster through the office door, I feel, than on the set door.
Okay.
But to answer your question, you start as I said to Maya, you're starting as a day playing set PA. You'll come in for 3 days and then they'll let you go. Yeah, you're a set PA. You're working on set. You'll start out as a daily, though. It's just called a daily. And you'll fill out paperwork. And yeah, Maya, make sure that you get that paperwork that day when you start that gig.
Mm-hmm.
So for the PAs, do they offer travel and hotel accommodations, or is that on me, or how does that work?
That's on you because you're non-union.
Well, it depends on the show, because they are putting me up in a hotel next week because they're filming outside of the original base camp show. So, but I guess they have the budget to do that, though. So. Gotcha.
Right. Locally, no. That's why they're hiring you locally, right? If they're in the local area.
Gotcha.
But if they're filming out of town, like Maya's doing, yes. Like, yeah. I was a PA on that Spartan show, and they put us up in Santa Barbara. I remember that. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Brett, I did a lot of work for ESPN last year, and I made the decision because I'm originally from Alabama, and there just wasn't much, there just wasn't much going on. So I ended up traveling from all over the South, and I paid for my own transportation and hotel, but I was willing to do that in order to try to get the experience.
Right.
That's my thing is and Kenny, you probably have a good opinion about this, but kind of my thing is I'm not going to work for free. I'm just not. Sorry.
Yep.
But I felt like, for me to pay for my room and transportation and everything else like that was my that's what I was, the level I was willing to put into it, and maybe have to do that a little to find more opportunities around. I don't know. Kenny, I'm sure you have an opinion.
No, I was fortunate. I never worked. I don't think I ever worked for free. I got lucky, right? Ask me your question again, Dee Dee. Like,
I mean, about working for free. I've told people, I'm not within the industry, but I guess y'all are going to hear it from me now. I have told members of my family, I said, it's not important to me that I work for the next Steven Spielberg, meaning student films. It's important to me that I work on a good project with a good crew, and be able to, to be able to feel like I'm helping to accomplish something that way. And I just don't think, to me, it's different doing a 48-hour film project with your buddies versus working with a group of people you've never met before. And I mean, maybe some people do that, but that's just, for me, it's like, I just can't.
Yeah. Well, but if you're 20 and your resume is a blank piece of paper, I've always suggested start working on every documentary in the town, every student film in the town. You go to still photographers in your town and say, hey, I'll be your assistant. I'll do it for free, right? Because you're living at mom and dad's, you don't have any expenses. But I wouldn't, I'm in the same boat. I agree with what you're saying, Dee Dee. Yeah, I agree. Like, you got to bring a bit of, you got to know, I've always been told, I've been told this once, and it stuck with me for a long time. You got to know your value, and you got to know to ask for it. And I've asked for my value on two occasions in the film industry and got fired. And it's like, that's fine. That's fine, because I'm not going to get blacklisted. Like, I mean, you're going to fire me because and who would be firing me would be the UPM. I would go to my AD and say, listen, I need this rate, and you got to fight for me. And the UPM would hear that and go, get rid of them, because they think PAs are a dime a dozen. And my AD would be like, oh, God. I mean, I've had an AD out of his own pocket pay for my accommodation, right? Because he knew what I offered. Well, he knew my worth, right? But he can't convince the UPM. UPMs, unit production managers, after, like, with the guild rules, the Directors Guild of America, they have to hire a certain number of guild members. Well, I'll tell you guys, when I was shooting, like, Ticket Out, it wasn't a high budget film, 10 million, I think it was. Well, maybe, I mean, to me, that's a lot of money, but not in the business. But as a DGA second AD, I was making $3,500 US a week, plus $500 stipend for groceries and laundry, plus an $800 a day on location allowance. Like, I'm serious. The DGA pays their members a shitload of money. So the unit production managers want to hire their bare minimum, and then they say to their ADs, hey, if you guys need help, hire a bunch of PAs. Because, I mean, they're a dime a dozen, and they are. They're $125, $150 for 16 hours, whatever. But, after a while, you get somebody with my face on your set who's clearly done, like, I was 30. When I got into the guild in 2004, I was 44 years old when I got into the guild. I was a PA at the age of 27. That doesn't seem right. I don't know. My brain is mush. Yeah, no, I got into the Directors Guild of America in 2004. So I was born in 1970. So what's that make me, 34? Yeah, so I got into the guild when I was 34 years old. 34 years old, I got into the guild. I don't know what I'm saying here. Next question. I don't know what I'm saying, but I mean, I know what I was saying is, know your worth, know your value. And I wasn't afraid after a while to say, look, if you're not willing to pay me that, I'm gone. But by then I'd worked a lot of shows, right? But you're starting out. So find that line. I wouldn't want to work for free. I think it's gross that people ask that of you. I can get it. You're right. With independent people and your brother making a movie or whatever. I get that. But I see these, they always say for credit. Well, who cares if you get a credit, right? You'll work for credit on the film, or you'll work for food. I don't know. I'm not answering you. Yeah. Next. Maya.
Yes. Okay. One of my questions is, so since I'm going to be working on this show as a day PA, I have some other contacts that I could reach out to who I know are either working on a project or could have another project coming up. And so I was wondering, would you recommend I reach out to them now and ask, like, what are you up to? I hear filming starting to pick up after quarantine again. Or do you think I should wait until like my 6 days are up on this show and then reach out to them and ask? Or like, just like the timeline of reaching out about potential other job opportunities?
I would wait until you're done, because then you'll have a hell of a lot more knowledge, so that when you do speak to those people, you'll be able to say, hey, I met your friend such and such on the show I just did. Or you'll know lingo more. I think like, unless their films are starting up like right away, I would say there's nothing better than having a bit of experience behind your conversation. Am I?
Okay, the one guy, I think that I worked with him as an extra on a show before lockdown started, and from what I've been seeing on groups is that I think they're wrapping it up and they probably had to cut a lot of episodes. So I don't know if they're gonna do more filming or if he's gonna move on to something else. And I had already reached out to him over quarantine, and he said I could hook you up as a PA once we get rolling again, but then he never reached out to me and he probably just got busy.
Oh, okay. Hey, reach out to him and say, hey, guess what? I got this gig.
Okay.
Just tell him about this gig, right? You just, it's always important. I know he'll remember you, but he hasn't heard from you in 6 months or whatever. Your name is back here on the Rolodex. By just reaching out and saying, hey, man, I got this great gig, poof, you're at the front of his Rolodex again, right? So, that's that game that we play in this industry, is always keeping your name at the front of the Rolodex. And it can be done in a way, I used that phrase the other night, fake film friends, FFF, and it's true. This whole business is fake film friends. Like, I only have 2 friends from the film industry from 23 years of work or whatever it is that I still call. The rest of them are acquaintances, right? But it's the nature of the business, right? Like, but it's keeping your name at the top of the Rolodex with every little contact that you have, and it can be done genuinely, right? By saying, just letting you know, I got this great gig. I think, does that help? Or
yeah, that helps. Mm-hmm.
Or next question, anybody? Dee Dee?
Oh, Brett had his hand. Brett, you go, and then I'll go after you.
No, go ahead, ladies first.
No. You go.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I went through that list, and it looks like half of the upcoming films are being made in Toronto. So I was talking to a friend of mine who does sound, and he actually moved down to Atlanta, and he everything dried up. He worked on a couple of Tyler Perry films, and everything dried up, and he came home. He's back here now, and he's kind of given up on Atlanta. So the question is it worth going to Toronto looking for work, or are they going to hire all locals?
Well, they'll definitely hire all locals. 1 second, yes, Ruby? She got out of the cage. The bunny got out of the cage and you caught her again? Okay. Is Whitey okay? Hey, can you grab me a beer out of the fridge while you're there? I love kids, hey? They can grab beers for you.
Is that Ruby?
That was Ruby, yeah.
Hillary said hi.
Do you mind, Ruby? They'd like to see you. This is Ruby.
Hi.
Hi, Ruby.
They love your living room. See, they've seen your living room over here. Okay, sorry. They're going to hire low. Like are you Canadian, Brett, at all?
No.
Okay,
No.
so you'll never get
Born and
hired.
raised in Maryland.
Yeah, you'll never get hired up there.
Okay.
You, as Americans, your chance of getting over the border in the next year, zilch. Canadians are like, no, keep them out. And whatever happens to you all, because yes, I'm a Yank, but whatever happens to you all in November, listen, I own this old church. It's 100 years old. It's on a lake north of me, 2 hours away. I got water. I don't have heat, but you're welcome to it if you need it.
Country's burning down right now.
Thanks.
All right. Adri, did you have a question? Any more? Or?
No, I don't. Yeah. I got the
Dee Dee?
guy's name, so thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dee Dee? Can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
I know I can't hear her either, but it doesn't say she's muted.
No. Dee Dee, it doesn't say that you're muted, but we can't hear you. You fix that. Maya, you have another question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about what's acceptable in the film industry in terms of posting on social media. Like, I know posting anything from set is a big no-no, like no photos, all that. But like posting like I got a job on show XX or movie XX, like is that considered bad? Like you should not advertise that? Or is that okay to tell your friends and family, like on Facebook, that I got booked as a production assistant on blah? Or like, or should you not say that?
No, I think you're cool. You're cool with that. That's a great question. I think you're cool with that.
Okay.
I think you're cool with that because what you're doing is you're just, you're putting out noise that people are going to hear, right? Like I'm 50, right? So I'm just learning still the tentacles of how reaching this social media is, but just creating noise, you're going to attract what you want to attract, not congrats from your parents and your friends and all that. But eventually one of your friends is going to say, oh, she works in the business, right?
Yeah.
So that's nice and subtle. That's nice
Okay.
and subtle and a low key way to present yourself on social media. Same with you, Dee Dee, is, just posting pictures of, you're at the Hollywood sign or here's the front entrance of Paramount Studios on your social media or something, or saying, hey, I'm out, and I don't know if that's a thing you would do, Dee Dee, but I mean, I'm just saying you've got, that's the world we live in now, and you sort of have to, it'll attract stuff. And then join, the other thing too is joining all of these groups. Like I've joined them through fits, some through my own personal feed, but like Oregon, you heard about us, Maya, through an organization that I'm a part of, but then they forwarded it. And so then when I saw they forwarded it, then I joined that organization. So like every state has got like 20, 30 different film organizations. And even, go onto a university website, see if they have a film department, and then Facebook film groups for that student film. And because you're just at the point where you're just trying to get jobs wherever you can. And, but when you're connected to those groups, your personal posts, putting up little things like that, you're just trying to attract attention subtly, I think.
Yeah. I just didn't want to overstep a line of like the production's rule of no posting on social media. So I didn't know what was acceptable in the industry. Like obviously photos on set, no, but like just announcing this to your friends and family is okay, it sounds like.
I think that would be cool. That would be a cool way to, and I'm just riffing here because I, didn't come in at where you are now. You all have a great avenue. This social media thing was not around in 1997, right? In 19, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, you had another question?
Oh yeah. I did not see Radio Wrangler or Walkie Talkie Wrangler in your org chart, and I was wondering, is that a good way to get on set, or is that guy like off in some closet somewhere?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If man, I used to have the forums. They might be up on there might be walkie forums on our website, on my website there under the forums section, walkie forums, and if there are, download them. But that's something that you would say in an interview. Like there's not an official position of a background PA or a walkie PA. You'll never see that in the credits of any movie. That's just sort of our lingo within that department itself is, oh, there's the There's the walkie bitch, right? Which is me. That's the term for male and female. There's the walkie bitch. There's the truck bitch. That's what we're called, right? But the walkie person does that. But you've got to know the gig, right, Brett? Like, it's not a difficult gig, but you would be doing more than just walkies. You'd be doing lockups. You'd be helping on set. But in addition, you're carrying a backpack that's got extra walkies in there, and you're the one maintaining the battery box at Video Village to make sure that there's hot batteries there, and you're making sure the dead batteries. This is something that's always cool. We always used to use the FedEx bags. I don't know why, because of their strength maybe, but we'd always put our dead batteries in a FedEx bag and give them to the transport driver. They'd take them down to base camp, and I'd radio the base camp person and put in hot bricks in the FedEx bag, and they'd do that, and then I get my hot bricks on set. So there's a bit of, but it ain't rocket science, right? There's a bit.
So is that a full-time position, or is that something the third AD does?
Well, yeah, good one. No, I would say depends on the level of the show. And certainly, a third or second AD would take care of it on a small independent production, absolutely. But on a real show, on a union show, I'm just saying to you, like, if you go into an interview, you can say, "Hey, I can be your walkie bitch. I can be your PA guy. I can be your cast PA." Know the lingo, but also kind of know those jobs. And the jobs, I mean, it's not a. Yeah, you do. It's not an official position. I think I'm answering you.
Okay, that answers the question. Thanks.
Dee Dee, are you there with us?
Can you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My question was, you answered Maya. That was where I was going. I had the question about social media. So great. Thanks for asking that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And anything else, Maya?
You don't know the AD Kevin Brown, do you? Does that name sound familiar?
I'd have to IMDb him. Why do you ask?
Oh, he's just the guy who hired me for this show, and he's worked on Hollywood stuff before, so I just didn't know if your paths had crossed.
Let me see. IMDb, because this is exactly what every person does when they get the crew list or the call sheet for the first time. Is they look at, and this is just a Dutch Uncle Kenny tip for you, go to the back side of the call sheet, look at everybody's name, and then IMDb them and look at what they've worked on, because it's people have egos, right? And if you can go up to, if you're trying to get in the grip department and you're just the trainee or the PA there, and you can go up to the key grip and say, "Hey, I really like that show Iron Road that you did," right? It's just a little, so he's done goal. He did a lot of art departments. So he's hiring you in the art department?
No, he's hiring me as a set PA.
For the art department?
No, just for the set. He didn't
For
say
the
anything.
AD department?
For the AD department, yeah.
Kevin Brown has worked in the Canadian film industry since '81. Maybe this is a different guy.
It might be.
Huh.
Different.
Could be a
It's
different.
a pretty generic name.
Oh, I see him there. I'm sorry. Kevin Brown, second assistant director. Sure. So he's done stuff I don't recognize, but okay. Sorry, everybody, but I could share here. Listen, this is what we do. We call share screen. So let me show you what I'm looking at, right? Oops,
He
share.
worked on Vice, I think, as a second assistant director.
Okay, so you can see what I'm looking at, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's the right guy.
So just for the rest of you, there's a lot of Kevin Browns, right? Art department, second unit, actor, camera and electric, actor. Anyway, so I found him here, and then yeah, and then if I was being hired by him, then I would go, okay, oh wait, he's done this show. Who are people? And then I'd go down here all the way to the bottom. It says see full cast, and it'll show you the entire crew. And then you can see if you knew anybody that worked on the show. And then if I did, I'd call them up. Anyways, yes, okay. I'll stop that. Stop. Anyways. Okay. Did I answer your question? I don't know what your question was. Kevin
I just
Brown.
asked if you knew him, so no.
Yeah. No, I don't. No. I went off on a tangent there, but that's what you do, right? When you're in the business and you hear a name, you look them up.
Yeah, it's good to always see who you're connected to and like look at what they've done and stuff.
Yeah. You're trying to make people feel important when you see them.
Mm-hmm.
Brett.
The camera PA, is that something I can apply for? Or is that they're going to want a young?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. And as a camera PA, you need to know the equipment, right? That's why you're being hired, is if you know the equipment, so they can say, hey, Brett, run back to the truck and grab blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. And you're just a runner. You sometimes you might be taking the film. Well, they don't do film anymore, but drop it. We used to have PAs that would get in their vehicle and drive the film to the airport, put it on a flight back to LA. But mostly a PA for the camera department on set is going to be running back and forth.
So what's the equipment? RE?
Sorry?
What's the equipment? RE cameras? So do I need to study the camera before?
Well, that's a huge education, Brett. I would be picking up. There's a book. If you gave me a second, I'd go run up and get it. But it's called The 5 C's of Cinematography. The 5 C's of Cinematography. It was written in the 40s by a guy named Bob Mescali, and everybody that's a cinematographer looks at it. But what I'm saying to you is, like, start picking up start picking up magazines. Go to your library, Brett, and pick up movie magazines, but just Google film camera magazines and start looking at those magazines, and then you'll start picking up the lingo, right? And then you'll start researching a little bit about equipment. I don't know what cameras they're using on whatever show you're thinking of, but if your question to me is, can I be a camera PA? Yeah. Your education isn't a university education. Like, no film position has a university education. It is just, it's just Googling and picking up material that is about that department. There's a great, I'm on a Facebook group called Grip Rigs, RIGS, Grip Rigs. I don't give a shit about grips. It's not my interest. They're like mechanics. I don't care. But I'm on that site, and sometimes things come through, and I'm like, well, that is really cool to know. Like that, if you're in the camera department, you got to know what grips do, Brett, if that's your interest, because you got to understand that there's many different types of dollies, and there's different types of tracks and all that kind of stuff, and they work together like that, those departments. But getting on those Facebook groups too is, what I'm trying to say is department specific film groups. Like there's a great little thread of film groups on Facebook called I Need a Production Assistant. I Need an Assistant Director. Get on those groups and follow them, because they're people from all over the country, right? Hey, I live in Portland, Oregon. My name is Maya. Just finished this great gig. I need work, or not that.
Hire me.
Yeah.
Kenny, I'm sorry, I need to go. So I really appreciated this and hearing y'all's questions and everything, and hope everything goes well. And I'll email you I got the template, and I've been working on that today. So I'll email that to you as soon as I get it done.
Awesome, Dee Dee.
Thank you.
Awesome. I love your
Thank y'all.
shirt, Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah,
Right,
it's a cool
Dee.
place. A lot of fun.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Take
See
care.
you.
Bye-bye,
Bye,
Dee.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Now it's the three of you.
All right.
What's the next question?
I don't have a question, but I have to get off too. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and everybody
Yes.
be safe and good luck on your journey too. All
Thank
right.
you as well.
All right, you take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've answered all of my questions, so Brett, it's up to you.
So on your resume for the references, are they looking for film references, or are they looking for character references? For a beginner with no experience.
Exactly. No, I would give that, I almost wish on that part I would have put, I can't remember the three. One is you want somebody that's going to speak to the person who's calling about your character. The other is speaking to you, that person, about your skill set. And the third one is speaking to that person about maybe your work ethic. Like when you choose those three references, you're going to have to ask them, hey, like I get this a lot. Hey, Kenny, will you be a reference on my resume? And I say, sure. But it would be nice for somebody to say, hey, I'd like you to be a reference on my resume for this reason, because you know my character, or you know my work ethic, or you know my skill set. And that's what I want you to speak about if somebody calls. That would be a cool thing. It would be a cool thing on my resume if I had seen, character, like dash about my character,
Oh,
or
yeah.
dash
Yeah.
skill set, or dash about. Yeah.
Good point.
Are you hungry, Ruby? Okay. Are they gone? Okay. I won't be much longer. Give them those, because those are old and expired. All of her friends. They're not expired. Sorry, Brett.
I have a quick comment, and then my last question. The comment is for craft services on your website, the link is dead. You click on it, it goes to it says no page or something.
Thank you.
And my last question is, so I'm looking through these books. I'm going to buy a couple of the books. But one of the things was film financing. Doug,
Yep.
or something like that, a class that he teaches. But it says to send an email to inquire. Is that something that's no longer exists, or does he have a book, or does he teach a seminar online, or what is that?
I'll be very candid with the two of you, because it's just the two of you. So I started this business because I kept hearing, because when I came to Regina here, they would give me young people to train. And I always thought, isn't it odd that I'm training these people for free? All these 20 years of experience, and I'm doing it because the producer wants me to train that person because she gets a tax credit. In other words, some more money in her pocket. And then I thought, when I looked at film schools, they teach those 5 things, right? The editing, directing, cinematography, et cetera, and then acting. And there's only one director. There's only one editor. There's only one DP. There's only one lead actor. And there's like all these other positions. And they're so easy to, I think, teach in a controlled, contained environment. So my point is that I thought, if I've got retired people from the film industry, write manuals on what they did. Because to say to somebody, like if I said to you, even Maya, I don't know what your job is right now, but what do you do, right? Tell me in a step-by-step, what do you do for your job? It takes you a minute to kind of like organize it and lay it out and make it pretty and make it understandable and make there a flow. And you got to really think, you just don't do it like that. And so I did that with these people, the craft service one, set decorate, blah, 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 but nobody cared except the people that came to the seminars, like you guys. You saw the value in the material. But everybody else, like the film commissioners and people in the industry, they're like, oh, it's all about directing and acting and cinematography, and it's all about getting trained on set. And it's like, it just never worked out, which was too bad, because like, I think when I started, if I was in your position, Maya, I would have killed to have this information. The information I think I gave you in the last 2 days, plus tonight, puts you 3 years ahead of where I was, because nobody tells you this shit. You got to figure it out, and you figure it out through mistakes on the set, or you figure it out by being like observant and watching, and everybody, like, my way of doing things, guys, is my way of doing things, right? You'll find your way of doing it, but at least you've got something to start with. And most people don't. They just get on a film set and you're expected to figure it out. Well, that's the way we do it. We train on the set. Well, there's no training on the set. Nobody's training you. They're yelling at you because they think you're stupid because you don't know what to do. But anyways, my point to that ramble is, it's just never taken off, which shocks me. I thought for certain a book on how to be an AD, like you look at that book, I had it around, like it is 300 or something pages. It's like thick, and you go through it. And if you're interested in the film industry, like I wouldn't buy, that I was saying, I'll send it to you too. But the PA one, which is kind of the material where I drew the last 2 days from.
Right.
Just in the AD seminar, I expand on it. And if you could just like forget the PA one, go through my AD. I'll send you both my AD one. You go through it, and it's like, like this is not rocket science. But until somebody puts it down and you see how it's laid out, But I tell you, Maya, I'll send you guys both. But Maya, you skim through my AD manual. and flip through the pages. When you get on set for those 6 days, you're going to blow them out of the fucking world. I swear to God, because you'll know all of the lingo and all of the minutia of how it works that nobody tells you about.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's my ramble. I'll stop. What's your next question, Brett?
But so did Doug never do a class, or what's the status of that?
Okay, my apologies. So the point of that was, it's hard to get somebody to write that shit down and make sense. And so for Doug, I said, Doug, like, people want to know how you find, like, so Doug Lodato, the backstory, ticket out, Ray Liotta. So we had a thing called pay or play. Pay or play is another piece of lingo, which is we're going to pay Ray Liotta $1 million because his contract with us states that whether we shoot the movie or not, Ray gets $1 million.
Wow.
What a great gig, right? So independent producers who are trying to raise money are like, well, we can get Ray Liotta in this movie. He'll do it. He doesn't care if it's a piece of shit movie because in his contract, he gets paid $1 million regardless, right? So anyways, my point is that Doug, I said to Doug, you know, there's so many people that hunger to know what you do, because the special thing about Doug Lodato was he looked at Canada and Regina, and he looked at Iowa. This was in 2008, and Iowa had like a 50% tax credit. So you could bring $1 million to Iowa and they'd give you $2 million, right? And then he looked at Regina, Saskatchewan, and he could get 45% of his labor paid for by the government on a tax credit if he hired them, and he flew them to Iowa like the keys of the department. So half of his labor bill was covered by the government. So anyways, my point is, he knew his passion was figuring out the system. And I've had him teach. He gave 2 seminars in Ohio, I think both for Dayton, Ohio. And he doesn't have a book, to answer your question, because some people, they can't, it's a lot. I don't know if you've ever done it, but try and write a book. It's fucking, it takes forever to write it and to make sense. So he doesn't have a book. So my point is that if there's enough people interested that can afford Doug Lodato to come to their town to give a class on film financing, he'll do it. But I bet he's like a $6,000-$7,000 gig. You know what I mean? To bring him in, because it's got to be worth his time. So no, there is no book. Next question.
My last question.
And Maya,
Yes.
is there any other manual I can send you guys? I'll send you the AD one. I can send you the PA one. I've got a grip and electric. I've got a scripty. I've got a production coordinator, which is the office. I have a craft service one. I can't send them all because there's too big of files, but I can definitely send you the AD one and the PA one.
Yeah. If you could also send the production coordinator one, I think that would be helpful to have as
Yeah,
well.
that'd be helpful for both of you, certainly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the grip.
And anything else? Because I should go, because I got a kid and I got to feed her.
Yep, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Great meeting you.
Thank you, Kenny.
too.
Really appreciate it.
Yes. You bet. Take care. I hope to hear from you in the future. Maya, I want an email from you in like 10 days about how it went, okay?
I will. And I'll send you my resume also. The template.
Perfect. All right, you take care.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.